A lot of people out there say that Disney doesn't know how to produce good Star Wars, and for the most part, that is true. But I do believe that Rogue One, as well as the follow-on companion series Andor, is likely the best thing Disney has ever done as far as Star Wars, and a lot of people haven't watched it. Unfortunately, here to talk to me about that is our good friend James Silvani. How you doing, James?
I am doing fantastic.
Disney gives people a lot of reasons not to trust them when it comes to Star Wars. You know, when it comes to Book of Boba Fett or The Acolyte or The Mandalorian kind of going down in quality, and certainly the sequel trilogy and all that stuff. But Andor is absolutely the heat, and not enough people are giving it a chance. It actually took me 2 years before I even would consider watching it.
I watched it from the start, and I thought, this is the Star Wars I was waiting for my entire adult life. As a kid, I might not have appreciated it the same way I appreciated the original Star Wars, but as an adult, this really spoke to me. I thought they did a fantastic job.
But it really does show like the seedy underbelly in the beginning stages of the rebellion. I was a bunch of like just kind of little faction groups that were very separated, and they had different agendas and everything, finally having to come back together as one to finally kind of go against the Empire. And the way the Empire was kind of ruling worlds, like, well, that one's not important because there's no resources there. We'll just hire somebody and contract it out. It's a really interesting look without like all the politics that kind of plagued like the prequel trilogy.
And the politics do have its place in there, especially with Mon Mothma, who I never thought could be an interesting character, but in this she really does play the diplomatic game. As far as the bit she's doing with her family and trying to get with her own wealth fund that she's having to hide, and you wonder how much of that has a real world parallel to it, because I mean there's some seedy stuff going on there, even though she's the good guy. Everything is well done with her. Everything is well done with Luthen. Even on the Imperial side, I mean I care about these characters. I care about all of them. I care about the bad guys. I care about the good guys. Something you don't see a lot of in TV these days. I mean, I think that's my big problem with a show like House of Dragon. When you do that as a follow-up to Game of Thrones, where you cared about everybody. You cared about the good guys. You cared about the bad guys because they were all interesting characters. And then you get the House of Dragon. It's like, oh, I just want to see all these people die. Andor, it's the same way. I care about everybody. I'm looking forward to see what happens to them week to week.
Star Wars has had a rough go of it lately. Audiences received the last film in the franchise, 2019 Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, tepidly. Its TV universe has filled some voids, but despite some breakouts like The Mandalorian, the success rate since has been far more missed than hit. And at a time when it could be dominating, Star Wars these days feels like it's just trekking along, where it did until Andor, easily the most engrossing thing to come out of the franchise this year, if not in many, many years. So it's nice that when you actually have something good, it just sucks when people don't go and actually support it, to let Disney and Lucasfilm know that, no, this is what you need to do.
As far as Mandalorian, I wish they had ended it at season 2. I thought
the perfect
what
ending.
Perfect ending. It's you got Luke, you got Grogu going out there where he should be. He should be off with Luke, and then to shoehorn it into Book of Boba Fett the way they did was that totally breaks up the story for both Book of Boba Fett and for Mandalorian. And season 3 didn't. It's like the sequels in general. They didn't add anything to the original story. They didn't add anything to the lore. They didn't add anything to making me care about these characters. And with that season 3 of Mandalorian, it didn't add anything. It just was the further adventures of. If I want the further adventures of, I can make up my own stories.
All depends on who they end up putting in charge, because for the first time, what feels like forever, a Star Wars enterprise has earned its audience investment in its characters rather than borrowing it from their bank of nostalgia for familiar names and faces. Thanks to Tony Gilroy, Star Wars fans knew his name because he was the one brought on to fix Rogue One, the film where Cassian Andor first appeared. As creative Andor, he's drawing the kind of personalities that would risk everything to stop the ascent of an evil empire. There is no light side, dark side horse talk. Viewers aren't meant to believe in every rebel on sight. Empire baddies aren't soulless so much as flawed. You're working with real characters, and they're really fleshing them out in what this universe and what they're kind of going through. And it's so character driven that you can't help but really buy into them at the end.
I think they made the right decision with the show to concentrate on Andor in terms of there's no Jedi, there's no Sith. You don't get into anything with Vader. I think the Emperor only gets a passing mention in the show. You're dealing with the rebel on the street. You're dealing with the core of rebellion. It's so well done in that sense, is that you really, again, characters. You root for these characters. You root for, no matter what Andor's past is. I mean, he's a criminal. He's getting by on his wits on the street, and especially the stuff that was done in the prison. I mean, where those characters really come out, and you get chills when you're watching that with them escaping the one way out.
Another thing that I think is cool that you kind of bring up there is we're visiting in Andor lots of different planets. If you go and you look at those sequel trilogies, it's Jakku, but it's just,
Tatooine.
It's Tatooine. You go to the salt planet, it's kind of like the ice planet. You're not really going to anything new with different cultures and all that kind of stuff. And in this show alone, I think you visit 5 or 6 planets. Now, some of them are familiar. We've been to Coruscant before, but we haven't really been inside Coruscant. We've really seen it from the Jedi perspective. And I really like fleshing out the universe and making it feel so much bigger, because they really had condensed it down and made everything so interconnected that it made the universe so small. And now you've really just expanded out with Andor. And that's why I'm so excited for a season 2. And I'm even kind of looking forward to this Skeleton Crew thing.
Anytime something Star Wars comes out, I'm going to give it a shot. I watched that Resistance cartoon even, and I made it 2 or 3 episodes into that and realized it's just not for me. Skeleton Crew, I'll still give it a shot. When you were talking about the different planets of the universe, the one planet that I was the happiest to see, and I don't recall the name of the planet right now, was where Cassian gets arrested. The kind of the resort city
like
Ryza
from Star Trek.
Yeah, it's like, hey, so people do vacation in the Star Wars universe. There's, droids serving people pina coladas along the beach, and that was a nice thing to see. And you think about that, the way they totally bungled that in Last Jedi when they were on Canto Bight. I mean, it was interesting to see how the rich live. But that segment just took me out of the movie so much that there was no reason to go there. I mean, it was just like it was a side quest that took away from a 2-hour movie.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of side quests that take you away from a lot of things in that trilogy. Like, wow, that literally needed not to happen. They didn't even find the guy. How did you manage that? Another thing about Andor that I think really stands out is that it's not hopelessly devoted to VFX. Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic are the best in the business, but the show's best moments are in dingy old apartments or senators' residences, not a spaceship in sight, where the shows like The Mandalorian have gone to far-off galaxies using virtual sets. Andor went on location and built real ones. The show's authenticity and realness starts there. Like that lived-in universe, like the original Star Wars trilogy, that it's kind of grimy, it's a little dirty, people actually live there. And I think going back to practical sets and a lot of practical makeup effects and stuff for the aliens and the planets they're on, it just looks so much better.
There was 2 big, I guess what you could call them, battles, high points in the series. The first one being the Aldhani heist, which was very effects laden in there. Mm-hmm. I'm glad they put that at the midway point, because it gave you the flash, it gave you the bang, it gave you the effects that bring you into Star Wars and makes you stay for the rest. But the way they saved the battle at the end, the funeral, and it wasn't that effects heavy. It was just normal people fighting the Imperial troops, the Imperial stormtroopers. It had such a more of an emotional weight to it. It didn't need the FX. A couple explosions here and there, some laser rotoscoping, and that was all you needed. It was the people, it was the drama that made it.
Yeah. Then when you throw like the big heist thing on there, if you go to Rogue One, we're on that that planet where her father is, and the rebels go in and do that like daring mission where they're blowing stuff up. I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But then you go back to the characters, and that's the cherry on top that puts the program or the movie over the top.
Yeah, no, it was great. And it's almost the same pacing as Rogue One with, the effects laden thing, and then you get the human drama at the end. There was the scene in that last episode of Andor where he rescues Bix. To me, that has as much weight as Andor and Jin holding each other at the end as the big explosion comes to consume them.
So you were invested in the older robot that was kind of breaking down, not quite like dementia, but his recall's not quite what it was. He can't get around like he was, but he's always been a part of Andor's family.
Yeah, well, and the fact that he's so devoted to Andor, no matter his failings. I mean, reminds me of a good family dog.
For some reason, people like our shared friend Aaron Sparrow won't give Andor a shot. And I've recommended it to him. He refuses to do it. But I will freely tell people out there, if you're missing good Star Wars and you like Rogue One, go check out Andor. Yes, you know the fate of the character eventually, but we don't know exactly how he got there. And the first season was great, and I couldn't be more excited for season 2 in 2025.
It still blows me away, though, the number of people who didn't like Rogue One. I meet them all the time. They just said, I think one complaint is, we didn't need that side of the story. Yeah, maybe we didn't need that side of the story, but we didn't need Solo either. But between the two of those, which one was very well done? I mean, Rogue One was very well done. Another thing is they say, there's no Luke, there's no Han Solo in this, whatever. And I say, if anything, you get the baddest Darth Vader moments you could ever hope to see in a Star Wars movie. So if nothing else, watch it for that. But yeah, I think Andor might be a slog for most people because you really don't know what you get going into Andor just from the commercials or just from word of mouth. I mean, you have to watch it. You have to watch it to really get what's going on. And if you do, you'll be very well rewarded.
Really appreciate it, and congratulations once again on Pirates, the graphic history, but not that kind of graphic.
Yes, thank you so very much for promoting it and letting me talk about it. And everybody who supported it so far, I've been overwhelmed with how the response has been to it. And don't forget, you have another 2 weeks you have until Halloween to pick up your copy of it. It's on Kickstarter, many different tiers, many different reward levels, and we got 2 more stretch goals to hit, including everybody getting a hardcover copy.
If you would like the entire Geek Fix podcast, you do have to visit Think Critical Patreon. There is a link in the video description if you like that, because we got about 2 more hours of geeky goodness to go right here on Think Critical Patreon.